Nerdrotic.com.
It's been 4,089 days since the release of the last novel in the A Song of Ice and Fire series, A Dance with Dragons. That is over 11 years of Daenerys being trapped in the Dothraki Sea, poor Theon hanging on the beacon tower wall with Stannis. Varys just standing around in Maester Pycelle's quarters after murdering him and Sir Kevin Lannister. Poor Sir Davis sailing up to get Bran Stark from some cannibals, and yes, Jon Snow bleeding out at Castle Black. It's also been 3 years since the biggest television disaster in recent memory, Game of Thrones Season 8. But oh, how times change. As the Rings of Power plummets in the ratings, and I am free to speculate that since Amazon has been completely silent, and some third-party information has confirmed that it wasn't doing that great to begin with, there is a show that's getting better. There is a show that's blowing up right now, and I'm as surprised as anyone. House of the Dragon. My speculation about this show was completely wrong so far, and I could not be happier.
What happiness it is to have been wrong.
Sure, I did say it's probably going to be better than the Rings of Power, but that really isn't saying much. Upon second viewing, the 5th episode, We Light the Way, named after the Hightower words, is the best yet. We start the episode right with Matt Damon Targaryen, and we're finally introduced to his lady wife, Rhea Royce, the bronze bitch. She's one of those trademark George R. Martin tomboy Arya type characters. Believe me, his books are filled with them. She decides to go riding off alone, which turns out to be not such a wise decision. Her second unwise decision was antagonizing Matt Damon Targaryen. While antagonizing Matt Damon Targaryen, she figures out that he's there to try to kill her, and then he tries to kill her. Or does he? While that was probably his intent, there is some plausible deniability here, and while he does eventually finish her off, it could also be interpreted as a happy accident.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
That led to a mercy killing. In our only Otto Hightower scene, the scheming and pragmatic former hand calls his daughter out for not picking him over Rhaenyra, even though he put her in that position, and he explains to her that the minute Rhaenyra's ass hits the throne, she will put her kids to the sword, so she needs to raise Aegon as a ruler and get ready. And he's not wrong, and he even explains that Rhaenyra wouldn't have a choice. In a later scene with Alicent Hightower, and honestly, you gotta say this episode belongs to her, and of course, Matt Damon Targaryen, she's in the Godswood once again with Larys Strong. After some small talk, he slips in that he saw Grand Maester Mellos deliver some tea to Rhaenyra right after her dad was dismissed. And remember, it's not just that there was some tea delivered, it was delivered by the Grand Maester, and she would know what that would mean. Again, it's the Westerosi version of getting rid of some happy accidents. Then we're off to Driftmark, so poor King Viserys can deal with his biggest political problem, his daughter, and his health is obviously going downhill. And on top of all that, he's got to eat a lot of humble pie. He's not only sailing out to Driftmark as king, he's not greeted at the door when he gets there, and when he walks into the castle, Corlys is sitting on his throne. Now, Corlys does eventually kneel, but when he gets up, then he asks for one more condition. Now, King Viserys is obviously there to propose a marriage between Corlys' son Laenor and his daughter, the heir to the throne, Rhaenyra. The only little monkey wrench is Laenor is gay if you didn't pick up the very subtle symbolism with him and his boyfriend sword fighting when the king arrived. Corlys isn't done humbling the king yet. After Viserys proposes this union, he asks if the heirs of Rhaenyra and Laenor will be named Valerion. Poor King Viserys, he just wants things to work out, so he agrees, but with the caveat that once one of their sons or daughters butts hit the throne, they'll be called Targaryen. Rhaenyra and her cousin Laenor take a long walk on the beach and discuss what is to come, for lack of a better phrase, and not much between those two because, of course, Laenor is gay and his boyfriend is named Sir Joffrey Longmouth, the Knight of Kisses. George has a sense of humor. So Rhaenyra makes a little analogy about roast duck and goose, basically saying, I'm gonna go my way, you go your way after we do our marital duty to the realm. And Laenor seems down, so everything's gonna be just fine. And we got some LGBTQ plus representation, so everybody should be happy, right? On the boat ride back to King's Landing, and oh my god, this reminds me of the hashtag boat sex from Game of Thrones. I still got GOT PTSD. Sir Criston Cole basically tells Rhaenyra that he's willing to give up his entire life as a Kingsguard and take off with her off to Essos, where they can go live free and love free, and she said, I have a career. Sir Criston Cole was under the delusion that he could make up for breaking his vows by taking off with Rhaenyra and marrying her. Now, of course, that was never going to happen, and quite frankly, Rhaenyra should have said yes to him in this situation. Now, this is supposed to make you think of Aerys Oakheart in Dorne, where he broke his vows in A Feast for Crows, something they completely cut out of the show. But as far as Westerosi rules go, it's not like the Kingsguard haven't had a paramour in the past, and it's not like a certain Lannister Kingsguard was very happy to take the position so he can keep fucking his sister. Upon his return to King's Landing, King Viserys collapses. Later on, we see him being treated for leprosy, so it's no surprise he's starting to concern himself with his legacy. Queen Alicent summons Criston Cole to her quarters to question him about some rumors she heard. Remember, Sir Criston Cole is Prince Rhaenyra's sworn protector, so even though Alicent is the queen, she needs to be very careful with her words here. You might want to keep in mind that Alicent thinks that Daemon and Rhaenyra got it on, so that makes it especially dangerous to question Sir Criston Cole, but it's fine because he completely spills. Now, honesty is always the best policy, but keeping your ass and your head attached to your body are also very good policies. So some unsolicited advice if you're ever being questioned by, I don't know, a queen, the police, other lawyers. Shut up. As Mahler put it in our post-show live stream, which you can catch at 9:10 p.m. Central Time, I will link it in the description, Alicent was handed not one, but 2 nukes. It's at this point it makes me think about the book a little bit, the one I didn't like very much, but it certainly felt like to me that it leaned a little bit more towards Rhaenyra than Alicent, and it feels like the show is making Alicent right now look like the good guy. And this is all to set up another Game of Thrones Westerosi wedding, and this could certainly have been cringe, especially since it's another color-themed wedding, the green wedding. But it was great. I hope they end it here, though. At the wedding, we're introduced to Jason Lannister, who, I don't know, I kind of liked his joke.
Where is the Queen? I'd hoped to pay my respects.
I understand the Queen is still readying herself for the celebrations.
This is why men wage war. Because a woman would never be ready for the battle in time.
Gerald Royce introduces himself while cutting off the Hightowers, who already feel disrespected. Then Matt Damon Targaryen makes a big entrance like Vince McMahon. And what a coincidence, once the Agent of Chaos shows up, things start going south. Poor King Viserys. And upstaging Chad Targaryen, Alicent makes a dramatic entrance in the middle of the king's speech, wearing a green dress, making all of the Hightowers look very happy, and that can't be a good thing. And just in case we didn't catch it, which most of us did, they decided to tell us.
The beacon on the high tower. Do you know what color it glows when Old Town calls its banners to war?
Green.
Then it turns into a night at the club. Sir Royce confronts Daemon about killing his cousin. Laenor and Longmouth flaunting their relationship in front of the entire king's court. Longmouth, being the gossip that he is, figures out who Rhaenyra's paramour is, Criston Cole, and then he immediately tells her betrothed, Laenor. Then, like a moron, he goes up to Criston Cole and lets him know that he knows. And Daemon is just watching all of this go down. Right before Matt Damon Targaryen makes his move on Rhaenyra, Laena Velaryon makes her move on him. He puts that in his back pocket and then continues. King Viserys notices that Matt Damon Targaryen's getting a little close to his daughter, and at that point, Rhaenyra challenges him to whisk her away right now and marry her in Dragonstone, and that's when shit goes down. And just to recap, we had 5 or 6 crazy things happen within 5 minutes that all led to a fight we really couldn't see at first. And it turns out this one had nothing to do with Matt Damon Targaryen. Criston Cole absolutely flipped and beat Joffrey Longmouth to death. And as I predicted on the night of the review, it led to this article from GQ UK. Like Game of Thrones, House of Dragon has a queer problem. No, like Game of Thrones, no one is safe. Not even the viewers. Game of Thrones Season 8, never forget. Now, this is a major change from the book where this happened during the tourney. And I was fine with them changing it. I think it turned out almost perfect. The only thing I would question is Sir Criston Cole punching Laenor Velaryon. They're going to have to explain a Kingsguard punching a future king consort. All the lords and guests bugged out, and King Viserys just decided to have the wedding right there and then, while Criston Cole goes out to the Godswood to kill himself in front of the Heart Tree. A lot of important things happening in front of the Werewood. Alicent Hightower prevents Sir Criston Cole from committing seppuku, setting up what is going to be one of Rhaenyra's biggest enemies. Sir Criston Cole has a nickname that you'll probably find out in the next couple of episodes. And the wedding itself is just sad. Poor Laenor is missing his boyfriend. King Viserys passes out at the end, and the final shot was brilliant. A rat drinking some of Sir Longmouth's blood that was left on the floor, foreshadowing more than one thing. Based on what I've seen so far, if you're a big fan of the horror of the Red Wedding, well, you're gonna see a few things like that in this show. But what I'm liking most are the characters. If you don't have good characters, you don't have a good show. If you have good characters, you can world build all you want. You can have complicated plots. You can even have some plot holes, because if I'm actually invested into somebody or something, then it's worth watching. And Matt Smith's Daemon Targaryen actually makes the show fun. It brings a very dark sort of levity. And it looks like a lot of people agree. Unlike the Rings of Power, House of the Dragon is at least reporting some numbers. Now, a lot of that is based on their word, and I have to give that caveat. House of the Dragon averaging 29 million viewers per episode. Audience rises 3% in week 5, and that is very unusual. No specific episode total viewer tally across all platforms has been disclosed by HBO and HBO Max, though Variety has confirmed viewership was up 3% compared to the prior week's episode. Overall, linear numbers and streaming data both imply that House of the Dragon, now halfway through its first season, has found its core audience. Episode 1 was watched by nearly 10 million people across all platforms when it debuted, HBO's biggest series premiere ever, while episode 2 reached 10.2. Streaming data was unavailable for episode 3, though its Labor Day weekend debut was met with a drop of 1 million in cable viewership. However, as Variety reported exclusively, episode 4's viewership picked up by 5% across all platforms, and with episode 5's 3% jump, it appears that the series has now hit a retention rate that is likely to remain stable as season 1 continues. Hey, I have to admit, I was wrong on something else. I was wondering if people were really just over the nihilism, because believe me, we have just started, but I guess there's still an appetite for a bunch of people watching another bunch of people be horrible to each other in a fantasy setting. But here is the big test. 2 very likable young actresses are leaving and being replaced by their older counterparts in the next episode, and this is when we'll find out if this show will survive. Yes, I liked it. Am I ready to tell Game of Thrones Season 8 fans who were burned to come back yet? No! But if you are back, please join yours truly, Mahler, Shad M. Brooks from Shadiversity, and other guests as we go live after every episode on Sunday night right here on this channel. Until next time, have a great day. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com.
I prefer roast duck to goose.
There are those who like goose very well.
Gay!